What's up, guys? What's up, Carson?
Yo, Manish.
Yo, so this guy here, Carson, is a good friend of mine. He and I lived together in the wild for 28 days, and right now we're feasting on this amazing delicacy, the prickly pear, which to you guys just looks like a little bit of a fruit. It's like a big grape. Let me get that closer, yeah. But to us, this was our surprise treat that we found in cacti that were just lying along the Escalante River, the place we were camping. When we had no food, we would engorge on these delicacies. So,
If you look closely, you notice the color. These are really perfect for those who are connoisseurs of prickly pear. Good melon taste.
yeah,
Nice, tough outer exterior skin, but yet delicate and fleshy on the inside. Consistent.
very consistent.
Indeed.
I know. These were actually ones that fell off the cactus. If you've ever seen a prickly pear cactus, which you're going to see in a moment, the ones that fall off, that means they're ripe and ready to go. These are delicious. But it's actually funny because, like, ever since honestly, like, these are sweet, but they're not even close to as sweet as the shittiest ones that we found when we were hungry.
No, they're, albeit hunger is the best seasoning, I found that the small, super prickly, small, dark ones were the best. The ones that took the most effort to get those spines off.
The prickly ones, really?
I found that, like, the ones that were like a dark purple, well, there were two.
Mm-hmm.
I found all these levels, but the ones that I really went for, I either favored, there were the smaller, almost balloon-shaped ones,
Yeah.
light pink in color,
Yeah.
different flavor, different texture. They were more juicy, less sweet, and then those really teeny ones with just a shit ton of spines. A lot of work to get off, but they were like a dark purple, but so sugary.
How much effort did you put into getting the spines off? Because I would just gave up. I just ate it with the fucking spines.
After the first experience of getting the spines in my long underwear, which persisted for about, well, really, like they didn't leave until I could wash them. So the rest of the course, I was constantly plagued by spines.
Yeah.
I took time.
You did.
Only when I had time.
Yeah.
During the solo experience, I had a lot of time to harvest, go through and shave them all off. I would get them off because I wanted to be able to lay out and just like freely gorge. And
You also had like a quadrillion around you.
I had quite a few.
Your area was like, his area was like the dreamiest, perfect area of prickly pears, the best forest I've ever seen.
I had a rooftop garden, my friend. There was actually the first moment at dusk. I had this moment. I went up there with no intention of harvesting. I went up there just to walk around, and I found that there were all these prickly pears, the balloon type, that I would just, all the spines had fallen off, and you would touch them, and they would all come off. They were dropping everywhere. It was like all the cactus were saying, "This is the last harvest. Eat them or don't eat them, but they're it." So I went harvesting crazy, and I didn't really realize I had wandered into Rob's crop. And I came around a corner, and he was sitting there reading his book as the sun was setting, and I kind of tried to avoid him until he looked at me, and I very guiltily, like, I had the shirt, because I didn't go up there prepared, so I had my whole shirt pulled up, like Santa Claus belly full of prickly pears, and he was like, "What's up?" And I kind of looked at it and realized that I was harvesting his prickly pears, and I just kind of looked at it and just walked away. And I knew he knew that I was eating what he was hoping to eat the next day, but I took him anyway.
I'm glad you didn't walk into Cabian's territory, man.
Yeah. I heard that was a little rough.
Super rough. I was so scared. But what I think is really interesting is like the differences in like food and the differences in actions and the differences in like what you do before and after this trip. Like,
Sure.
What do you think that like before this trip, you like? I've seen in myself a huge behavior change, and while I'm not sure internally if I'm different or not, it's definitely obvious from external perspective, like what I'm doing more now of that I wasn't doing before of. And I'm wondering if you're seeing the same thing.
Oh yeah. Well, the more you change the way you look at things, the more the things you look at change. So, absolutely. You know, like we were talking about earlier, there's been, I know for me personally, there's been the Boss course is one of several experiences on a string that have been kind of contributing to this more compressed experience going to that end of what you're saying. Like really reevaluating the way we look at everything around us, what we're doing in our lives, our priorities, you know, our health, our bodies, all these things. So it's always the sense of unplugging from a lot of things that how necessary they are has yet to really be revealed, and plugging into something that is like everything you're doing is important, everything you're doing is necessary, everything you're doing is worth the time and energy, even just sitting there doing nothing. And that's the feeling of being at peace, sitting and doing nothing here in this reality. That's a fleeting thing for people because we're constantly plagued by the sense of being productive and needing to. There's always our own realities to tend, and sometimes that gets too boring, and for whatever reason, so it's too easy right now to have to jump in and see how other people are tending their realities, what people are doing, and ultimately, we come together when we need to. But really, who cares? We're going to live our lives, do our things. It's good to be able to disconnect.
One thing I found that was super interesting was when I was in the. I'm jealous I ate too fast. So when I was before I left for the wild, I was always worried about what's going to happen in 30 days. If I'm gone, I'm going to miss all these important emails. I'm going to miss all this important information. I got to get in contact with these people. I came back and there was 1,038 emails in my inbox. I went through them, and there were only 6 that needed a response, and everything else was just Facebook status updates or comments.
It's
and
junk.
It's all junk, and you don't even realize it until you step out. And I was gone for, if you look at it, the first week I had so many emails that were interesting. After day 7, people just stopped emailing unless it was something incredibly important, It's we build ourselves into the structure where we have to be here at all times, but in reality, nobody cares. You can step away, you can disappear, and it's a matter of finding out what's right for yourself and right for everybody else too.
Well, that's why I made the comment that there is an addictive quality to it.
Mm-hmm.
We get addicted to the feeling of it being important, but the reality is it's not very important.
Yeah.
Not that people are important, or knowing what's up and friends being like, hey bro, what's happening in your life? That's cool, but it is something that feels a lot more important than it is, and we step out of it, it's going to keep going. The machine will keep running.
Yeah.
There's enough gas and gobbledygook for everybody, but you can disconnect and everything's fine.
Yeah.
And then you come back to it and realize it kept going, all this shit's moving and increasing and upgrading and getting better, whatever. But it's always going to be going, regardless of if we're constantly involved in it or not. So it's a choice of how are you going? How are you doing? It's is your going and doing dependent on all this other stuff? Can you really peacefully disconnect and just enjoy the simplicity of not doing much?
There was a really cool study about the areas of your brain that are activated when you play slots, when you gamble, are the same that are activated when you check your email or check your Facebook. It's sometimes you win, sometimes there's new email, sometimes there's not, but you always want to, and your mind is always on it.
It's like a reward system.
Exactly. It's a reward system. But dude, yeah, it's so weird being back in being back in the wild, because I realized that time. I realized that the scariest thing when I was there. The thing that I was saying is that what was I saying? It was that it's weird being back from the wild, because I realized that time that we spent alone, that time we spent away from technology, and the time we spend away from our normal lives is what allows us to really understand our normal lives. When you're totally inside of a cage, you don't understand the kind of cage that you're inside of. Whereas when you step outside of it and look at it from a different perspective, you're just people are people, and these people are motivated by this thing, and these people are motivated by this thing, and this is why I've noticed a deeper understanding of the way that the people and situations are interacting with each other now. Sure. Have you felt the same way?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can only be free of a cage that you're willing and choosing to see. And oftentimes, you have to be willing to leave the box. You can see that there is a box.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even need to sound so sinister. It just means that you have to be willing to step off for lack of better words, the social assembly line that we're all in. Keeping it going. You have to be willing to step away from it so you can see the fact, it is a whole bunch of fucking machinery.
Crazy.
Unnecessary devices, really. And you really don't. It's fun and enjoyable if you can look at it purely as that. It's fun, it's enjoyable, it's entertaining, but there needs to be. I think one is well advised to exercise discretion between entertainment and necessity.
Yeah.
And realize a big part of the addictive cycle in our culture is that we thrive on entertainment. We thrive on occupation of the mind.
Yeah.
Most people get into their most disquieted, uncomfortable moments in silence, in lack of entertainment.
Yeah,
lack of interaction.
That's a really interesting point, because how even now, even today, like when you were coming here, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, do I have enough stuff to do? Like, we're gonna be here for like a few hours. Are we gonna have enough to talk about? And I'm like, what's up, man?